This episode of Omar the Barbarian is being brought to you by our newest sponsor, Urinary Home Invasion. Now, I know what you're thinking, right? Omar, you're thinking, what on God's green earth a kit is a urinary home invasion, right? Well, imagine that you're nearly 50 years of age, right? It's around 2, maybe 3 a.m., and your bladder just isn't what it used to be. You're nice, warm, and cozy under the covers, but your bladder has a surprise in store for you. It didn't fully empty when you relieved yourself at 9:30 p.m., and now, at the worst possible moment, 3 a.m., your bladder presents you with a hard choice. Hold it for the next several hours and hope you don't wet the bed, or get out, stumble into the bathroom, and get immediate relief, but also the real possibility that you won't get back to sleep. This has happened to me, someone I know the other night, and what that person told me was that, they went to pee, they were standing up when they were doing it, and they took careful aim, and the stream went wide right. This person quickly course corrected, but the damage had been done, right? There was a small puddle marking the accident, marking their shame right next to the toilet. Now, not only were you not getting back to bed, you're now faced with another hard choice. Leave the shame there. It'll dry, right? Though you'll clean that spot later, you'll always know there's pee soaked into your fake wooden floor, right? Or you clean your shame, but cleaning your shame means turning on actual lights. And once the light goes on, you might as well stay awake, right? After this happened to me, that other dude, I got to thinking, why don't houses come with urinals, right? You pay whatever hundreds of billions of dollars for your crib. You go to the design center to pick out the fake wooden floor that you'll eventually pee all over, and they offer you every design choice but a urinal. Men buy homes too, right? So why has no one thought of this? The closest I've come to hearing about this being an actual thing was for the rich and famous. Carmelo Anthony said in an interview several years ago that he had urinals in his home, and I get why. He had the wherewithal to know that down the road, his future self would appreciate the convenience. Well, urinals in the home are no longer a luxury for the wealthy. Now, thanks to our fine new sponsor, you can have a urinal in every room in your home with Urinal Home Invasion. Imagine never missing the toilet again because there's a urinal in every bathroom in your home. But wait, it's not all. Imagine you're in the living room watching your favorite movie. You ain't got time to be going all the way to the bathroom, lifting a seat, having somebody yell at you for forgetting to put it down, missing the toilet when you pee, etc. Now, just get up and go right there. Why? Because you have a urinal in your living room. But Omar, you ask, won't my guests be uncomfortable watching me pee in the living room? And to that, I ask you this. Do your guests pay your mortgage? Are your guests going to clean up the pee that your old butt left on the floor when you missed the toilet entirely? No. Imagine never having to get out of bed again. Somehow, you can pee right from the bed and it goes right into the urinal. Any of them, anywhere in your whole house. How? Science. So, for the low price of $875 million, you too can have a urinal in every room of your home. To order, flush your toilet 5 times and say urinal when you look in the mirror. One of our representatives will magically appear in front of you, and if that doesn't freak you completely out of your mind, you can pay them and get our fine products. Or not, because this ad is completely fake. are listening to the Omar the Barbarian podcast, where we talk about what is best in life. So today, we are talking The Suicide Squad, new superhero movie from our friends over at Warner Brothers and DC Comics, directed by James Gunn. Warning, if you have not seen the flick, we are going to spoil it, but it's been out for a good 2 weeks now. So in internet time, it's like 75 years, so you will be all right. We're going to get into the flick and ask the question, did James Gunn win? But more to come on that. But first, allow me to introduce to some and present to others my dear friend, Tiffany R. Jones. Tiff and I go way back. I think we met in, 2008 or something like that? I got to know Tiff really well on a trip we took to Cali back in 2010 to serve meals at a homeless shelter. And we did a program called Adopt a Family, where you buy a family in need gifts for Christmas and then take them out to eat. Listen, y'all, Tiff is the real deal. One of the best humans I know. She has graciously agreed to join your boy and talk a little Suicide Squad. So, Tiff, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So,
Super excited.
Yes, I'm excited to have you here. And I was thinking, we could talk about what we like, what we did not like, but for those who are like, what even is the Suicide Squad? I'll break it down. According to the internets, the Suicide Squad is a 2021 American superhero film based on DC Comics featuring the team Suicide Squad. Produced by DC Films, Atlas Entertainment, the Safran Company, and distributed by Warner Brothers Pictures. It's a standalone sequel to the 2016 film, which was the 10th in the DC Extended Universe. This one is written by and directed by James Gunn and has an ensemble cast, including Margot Robbie, Idris Elba, John Cena, Joel Kinnaman, Sylvester Stallone, Viola Davis, and Pete Davidson, a few others. In the film, the Suicide Squad is sent to the island nation of Corto Maltese to destroy evidence of a giant alien named Starro. So James Gunn was hired to write and direct the film after being temporarily fired by Disney and Marvel Studios as the director of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which is slated for 2023. So the movie came out, is released in the United Kingdom on July 30th, and then here in the United States on August 5th, with day and date streaming on HBO Max. Has received tons of positive reviews from critics who praised James Gunn's direction, his visual style, and his writing. People found the film to be a significant improvement over its predecessor. It's grossed, according to the internet, 118 million worldwide against a budget of 185 million. And so we got also a Peacemaker spinoff coming in January of next year. But Tiff, here is the question now. I know we both watched. I rewatched it. You watched it last night, fell asleep. So I'm wondering what your review is going to be of this. But I'm wondering, the question around this is so much. I mean, we're going to get into the movie and everything, but what I really want to know is, did James Gunn win? So we know that James Gunn was fired as director of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, after a number of conservative personalities resurfaced his old tweets where he made some jokes about pedophilia and rape. Nothing funny about that. Cancel culture had put a nail in the coffin, and somehow James Gunn survives, got his career back, and then some. Critics and fans are praising this film. Critically, it's currently sitting at 91% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, and that's with 308 critics reviewing, and 83% fresh with more than 2,500 audience reviews. And I think that that's the best that a DC Extended Universe film has done critically to date. But in terms of which film was better, this is not even close. Like, this one was 10 times better than the other one. But here's the rub. The movie's made $26.5 million at the box office in its opening weekend domestic. It then had a 71% drop off in its second weekend. So you can blame HBO Max, COVID, whatever. it underwhelmed financially, right? So it has yet to make back what was put in. It's the reverse, really, of the predecessor, which many considered a flop, though it made close to $800,000. So this is the exact opposite of that: critical failure, commercial success, and vice versa. So did Gunn need a big box office to win, air quotes, or was it enough to simply survive cancel culture? Or does the box office mean that he did not win? And did people just not forgive him? Is that a reflection of that? I mean, let's for context, Space Jam 2 made more. And I don't know what the budget was for that, but if you kind of weigh it out, it's different audience. I get it, R-rated, G-rated. But you figure superhero movies, and maybe people just burn out on them, but it underwhelmed in terms of the projection. So I'm really curious to know what your take is on all of that. What's your reaction?
Well, I mean, I'm not surprised about the reviews. I didn't necessarily fall asleep because I thought it was bad. I'm just working too much, and so therefore passed out on the couch, regardless of what movie. If it would have been my favorite movie, I probably would have done the same thing last night.
Right.
But I do think that timing was likely an issue in conjunction with the backlash of the conservative population saying they don't want to support him. I think it's a combination of those two, which brought it down in the box office. I mean, if you think about it, school started this week. Right. Parents aren't going to be going out on dates and doing the things because they can't take their kids, right? So what's going to hit more? Is it going to be Space Jam right before school starts and get your kids out for that last final weekend out of the summer? Or is it going to be a night out for the parents? So that could be a portion of it. I also really think that if you think through what happened with him in the past and how much publicity that got versus how much publicity there was for the actual movie. I mean, living in LA.
Fair point.
Yeah, living in LA, I saw billboards and ads all over the bus stations and the bus stops. And I mean, anywhere you could think of, I saw Space Jam 3. Suicide Squad, I saw no advertisement until last week about it.
Wow.
So, and I'm in the heart of Hollywood where there's advertisements for all of the movies all over. And I don't think that they pushed it the way that they did the last one. I think Guardians of the Galaxy is going to push harder. So would he have won staying with that? Probably. Timing, audience, I think that all plays a part into it.
That's a fair point. What's your take in terms of if it's binary? Does the critical acclaim that it's getting, both from audiences, and I got to be honest, for me, the first time I watched it, it came out, I was in DC and I was just exhausted. I've been traveling all day and it came out and I was like, oh man, I got to watch it because I was trying to avoid spoilers. And this was one that I've been looking forward to. So I started watching it on my iPad. And so I'm sitting there and I'm laying in the bed in the hotel room and I'm trying to watch it and I'm nodding off. And I'm coming back and I'm nodding off. And to your point, it wasn't that the movie was bad. I was just exhausted. And so I missed key pieces. And it's the type of movie that I think your environment has to be right in order for you to really enjoy it. Because I walked away from that first, iPad viewing like, that wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be, right? Then when you and I talked about doing this show, I was like, well, let me rewatch it. And so I made sure that I was up and I was fresh, and it was like, early enough in the day that I could, really sit down and, absorb it, and had the subtitles on and was taking notes and different things. And I was like, this is so much better this second time because I'm home. I got a bigger TV I'm looking at it on. I got my surround stuff going on. And I'm like, wow, and so it was a much better overall experience than me trying to sleep and look at an iPad. So I think it kind of speaks to what HBO may have, how it may have shot itself in the foot, by putting these movies out on HBO Max. That being said, I don't know that it makes that much more money, but because you have other films that are, they're also not charging anything for it in terms of like
Yeah.
additional dollars, but HBO Max is so expensive. So I guess they were trying to figure that out. But the streaming game is interesting because there's no way to sort of gamify that.
No, it's not.
It's just
So
how many
yeah, you
subscribers
have to
there.
base it on ratings, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that you just have to go back to ratings at that point, because how do you monetize it in the terms of how much money it actually made for it to be successful? If you're streaming at the same time it's in theaters, and I mean, quite frankly, at least in this area of the world, we're getting ready to lock back down again. I mean,
right.
that they're talking all sorts of stuff about, we started remasking already. There's already new conditions put in place. I mean, you live in Florida. It's like Free Willy over there. You can do whatever you want. But over
Yeah.
here, it's a whole different ballgame.
Right.
And so when Hollywood itself goes down, I mean, numbers in the theaters are going to go down. So I think, and it would be interesting to see a comparison as to how other movies are doing financially at the same time. Did you say that you saw how much Space Jam had made?
I think in its opening weekend, it was slightly north of 30 million. And so
Okay.
Space Jam made more. But it was, and I believe that was also an HBO Max day and date release. So the projections that they were making for this were north of 30, were around Space Jam numbers. And then it came in slightly under that. And so part of that is probably the R rating. Some of that is, as you mentioned, some of that backlash of people saying, I'm not going to forgive that. But I would have thought that you would see that reflected in the audience score. So the people that are reviewing it and the critics are reviewing it, they didn't hold this against James Gunn. And so the part of me is like, the fact that it got made at all, the fact that he was fired and then got essentially Suicide Squad, he got rehired for Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and then had Peacemaker. And James Gunn is already cashing that check. So there's an argument to be made that he won. I think had he gotten the box office, it would be undisputed. In terms of versus cancel culture, I don't know if he wins at life because the jokes aren't funny in terms of the things he joked about, but
no, wholeheartedly. I mean, and a lot of that I have to come to terms with myself because, looking at the situation, hey, am I okay with this? No.
Right.
But do people say stupid things at the wrong times? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if they come back and apologize and seem sincere about it, and I've seen some of his interviews, he was genuinely sincere. Yeah, okay. He was genuinely sincere about, I don't like this. There have been parties since that he's gone to. I watched a single interview where he was talking about actually showing up to a screening, and there was a gentleman there who had actually been accused of raping somebody on set. Wow. And he immediately turned around and left and said, I don't want any part of that. So I know that he doesn't stand for that. Right. And I don't think that he meant it maliciously. But I mean, I don't know. Was he doing drugs at the time and just spouted off the mouth? Who knows?
Right.
And that's how the Hollywood types are, right?
Right.
They really pay attention. So I think he's genuinely sorry for what he did. Okay. I don't think it's because he got caught either.
Got you. Okay.
I think that there's a lot of people out there that will say that they're sorry and say that they need forgiveness and apologize profusely because they got caught. I don't know that this is one of those times. I don't think it is.
You're a good judge of character, so if you say that, then that's enough for me. That's more than enough for me. Seriously, I've not seen that, but you've given me some insight. And to your point, you catch any of us on our worst day and just isolate that, and anybody can be in that position. So I feel you on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, shoot, let's get into now. I know you saw bits and pieces of it because you feeling out of sleep like I did, but we can talk about what you did see and get into some reviews. So do you want me to go first? Give you my thoughts
Yes.
on the overall flick.
I would
Okay.
love to hear your viewpoint.
So I think it's damn good. I really do. The soundtrack really stands out. It kind of has that Guardians of the Galaxy vibe to it. And the ensemble cast, sort of the same thing. It kind of feels like DC's version of the Guardians of the Galaxy. And Gunn, frankly, can tell a great story. It's very linear, which makes things simple and easy to follow. They get right into the action from the jump. Visually, it's just a dope looking film. The rain, the effects, the transitions, set pieces, it all just works for me. There are a couple of moments that drag, but it's not terrible. I think if you saw this movie in the theater, it might feel slower. And to that end, I went to see last movie I saw in the theater was Snake Eyes, but before that, I went to see Black Widow, and it was packed. Just like people just were starving for Marvel content. And when I got in there, I was so excited to be back in a movie theater. And then the minute the movie started and people were talking and their phones were coming out and it was a phone light over here. And I went to this place that's a spot down here in Florida they have really good food. They're called Studio Movie Grill, but they are so attentive that there's constantly somebody in front of you where you're trying to watch the movie. So I'm having to hear people's orders. It's like and the people would come right, like it just wasn't my night. They were coming right in front of where I was taking somebody's order. I got butts in my face, the whole thing, people trying to take orders and this, and I'm going, this sucks. And so the next day I ended up having to buy it on Disney Plus, pay the $30 just so I could see the flick. Right? And I'm like, what did I go to the movie for if I'm gonna turn around and buy it from Disney Plus anyway? Right. So
but you were around people during COVID time.
That was the whole point. And so I was sitting there like, oh, this is why I used to hate this. You forget, that you hated it, right? But you got used to it. We went the day it opened. Oh, I think it was like the 9th, July 9th. Yeah.
So we went like a Friday night.
It was like a Friday night. Yeah. Was up in there.
The best time to go to the movies is in the middle of the day during the week.
Yes. I think you're spot on.
You have the whole theater to yourself. Yeah, you can have a nice big sandwich or whatever it is you want to eat and not disturb anyone or be disturbed by anyone.
I went to a different theater for Snake Eyes. It was it was the following weekend that it had already come out, and so there's nobody in there. The drop off that drop off is real, and Snake Eyes kind of bombed anyway. So we're up in there watching that, much different. I was like, oh, this is great because it felt like my living room had just gotten larger, and I had I've had some people over, and we were having a big, that's how it felt. So I think how packed your theater is. I'm sitting there like, I'm not here for the movie. I'm here for the company. Was kind of where I was. So it's just interesting, about that. But all of that to say, if there were scenes in Black Widow that felt slow because I'm sitting in the theater and I'm anxious, and I watch those same scenes from home and I'm like, why doesn't it feel slow this time? Because you at home and you can pause, you can go get a pizza, you can go do whatever it is you're going to do because you're in your crib and you're more forgiving of that because you're used to just sitting there binging things. So I think it's a psychological thing. So, but again, even in this, there were things that might felt a little slower in the theater for Suicide Squad, but it wasn't as noticeable when I watched it the second time at home. And there's just something about seeing a movie like that at home that makes even things like long exposition forgivable. And so I feel like James Gunn sat down and drank some liquor and then wrote whatever the heck came into his mind. That's what I think he did. This feels like he made the movie that he wanted to make.
That's art.
No, I mean that in the best way because I enjoyed this movie.
It's true, though. That's art.
But he was just like, man, I just don't care. I think this was kind of like a middle finger to Marvel a little bit, in terms of I'm gonna take the concept I made famous for you, and I'm gonna just do it this way and completely differently than how you want me to do it. But like I said, I feel like he made the movie he wanted to make. It feels like he had very little supervision. This is a like handing a child a credit card, and they went on a shopping spree. This is how this movie felt. He had no one telling him no. And so my feeling is that if you hate Marvel's superhero formula, then this is your flick. This is for you. You're going to love this thing. If you love Marvel's formula, this is probably not the flick for you. But if you can enjoy both DC and Marvel, you can have the broccoli and the macaroni and cheese touching one another. Then you will be fine seeing this movie.
Wait.
Yeah.
Can we stop there for a second?
Yeah.
Who's the broccoli and who's the mac and cheese is what I want to know.
You mean between the two of us? Is that how you mean?
DC and Marvel.
Oh, DC and Marvel. Okay.
Yeah.
So who? I would have to say, I'd have to say neither one, because I don't think that Marvel is like vegetables. I don't know that either one is good for you. I think that they're both good. I think they're both tasty. I think they're both different brands of mac and cheese. I would say Marvel is probably Stouffer's, and DC is, what's the other one? Kraft. With the Velveeta. Yeah, cheesy.
Oh,
it's probably
the Velveeta, like
the Velveeta.
Thick,
yeah.
Oh, the stuff that's really bad for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's tasty though.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So if you're a fan of that, it's like I said, I enjoyed it much more the second time through, but I think that's because of where I was. But what was your overall impression? Did you, of the pieces you got to see? Because I think you were saying like what you saw, you enjoyed.
I did enjoy what I saw, and I felt like he was really bringing to life art that he had in his head and a little bit of craziness that he has. You can obviously tell in his art, everything that he works on, he is probably, I would wholeheartedly agree with you that he was probably handed keys and nobody told him no on this one. And I think that that's why it was a little more unique this time than most times, because there was no pushback. And I think he really took it to another level in his own head. And whether you call it drinking and writing or call it art, I mean, I think he just did something unique, and it would be actually very interesting to me to see how the script was intended to be, and then what happened on the day and what he decided to roll with and push others to do, and how scripted it really was, because it didn't seem that way. Yeah, so I think that was genuinely different than most movies.
Because I forgot to mention, like, you have an expertise in this. This is your thing. This is your bag, right?
Oh, I mean, I wouldn't say an expertise. I'd just say I'm digging in a little deeper than the average bear, maybe. But I do a little production. I'm an assistant director, and it's really cool to watch when somebody is handed the keys and watch them use the script as a guide, especially when actors are really good. If you've got a good crew, if you've got a great cast, then things can bend and shift and beauty can happen out of it. So I would agree that there were a couple of parts that drug on a little bit. And I think that's when I fell asleep, more than likely on the second one. I think I dozed off during one of the first ones. But I don't think it was wholeheartedly, like, genuinely, I think if I was in a better space, if I didn't have, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, where you're at and watching it, both in your head space and your actual physical space, is going to be completely different. So I'm in my apartment. I'm getting ready to move. I have boxes all over. I'm already uncomfortable. I'm tired from packing all night. So the minute I hit the couch and I'm like, I'm watching this because we're talking tomorrow night.
Right.
And that didn't happen so well. So it'll be interesting when I can maybe have a little more commentary on the second time around, the next time we talk, to say,
Yeah, no, I think I would encourage you to watch it again. when you're
Oh, I
fresh. Because I literally had the exact same experience of trying to get it in, and it's a movie that for you to catch everything, all the nuance and all the for the jokes to land right and so forth, you have to be kind of up and fresh, and it's I found that to be to my experience. But you also mentioned that if you have a really great cast, which they do, I mean, this is a powerhouse cast.
it is a power.
Let's talk about them a little bit. I want to start with Idris Elba.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, did you ever watch The Wire?
No.
Okay, so it might be I don't know if I don't know if it's too late. The longer we go in terms of from when it was shot, like as with anything, the more dated it becomes. But for its time, and there are probably people that will say I'm blaspheming by even suggesting that it's still not, this. For me, for a very long time, it has yet to be unseated. It's the greatest television show I've ever seen. The Wire is
Really?
just, yeah, it's a, just bar none. It's the best show I've ever seen. And when you think about the cast of The Wire, if I, Idris Elba, like I didn't know who he was until he was Stringer Bell on The Wire, and
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't talk with his accent at all. In that, you think he's just,
Really?
and you would think he was an American gangster, just based on,
Awesome.
and that's what I thought. I just thought he was a regular American dude. Then I saw him do an interview. I was like, that's not Stringer Bell, right? So, it's a it the I would say this: if you get an opportunity, now you got 3 kids, so I don't know when you would have time to watch an entire season of anything, right? So, but in the
Oh,
event
I do.
that
I do. I send them to bed.
listen,
I do send them
if
to bed.
you can get it in, I would highly recommend you watch The Wire because it's the greatest television show I've ever seen. It was out
Okay.
on HBO, ages ago, but it remains just, like it's flawless. So
Awesome.
pretty much if you were on that show, you are guaranteed to have work. Like there are people like the movies, the guy who played Killmonger in Black Panther, he was on The Wire. There's
Yeah.
it's just a ton
Wow.
of actors that came off of that show. So um basically,
Like
if your
Saturday
character,
Night Live for comedy.
exactly, it's only like dramas, on that. So
That's awesome.
if your character, was on The Wire, I'm saying with a handful of exceptions, you went on to have an amazing career after that. And Idris Elba, in my opinion, shines. And like I know he's supposed to be basically playing Will Smith's character from the first movie, and Will Smith was like, "Yeah, I ain't doing the second one," and he was like, "That's fine. We'll just put you in." Like he's not Will Smith. He's not supposed to be Will Smith. But I think that the character they had in mind, what they were trying to do was have Will Smith be there. And I like what
I
they
think he
did.
lived up to it. I
Oh,
think
I
he
think he
lived up to
totally did. Yeah, he made
it.
it
Yeah,
his
I think
own.
he crushed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that John
Totally.
Cena was fantastic as well. I loved him as Peacemaker. John Cena has a gift for deadpan comedy that now I'm not about to make him Leslie Nielsen yet, but I think he's really good. And his character is such a departure from his normal wrestling persona, which was, superhero good
Mhm.
guy. And, in
Mhm.
this, he's the complete opposite of that. Uh, what's wild is wild seeing John Cena, who, I mean, I don't know the man, but he seems like such a good dude outside of his profession. Like you watch him with Make a Wish and all the stuff that he's done there. I mean, this is a good dude, right? And so you root for a guy like John Cena. He's really, really good in this. Then I loved. I'm going to butcher her name. I think it's Daniela Melchior.
I
Forgive
think that's
me.
close.
Yeah,
Melchior?
that sounds much better than anything I said. the she plays a rat catcher too, and she is the heart of this movie. Her ability to make you cheer for a rat is amazing. I felt like she did an amazing job, and I look forward to seeing much more from her. And then I thought Joel Kinnaman was good. I feel like he's always good in everything he does. I know that there are critics that have panned his performance in this, but I thought he was very good. I feel like he and Idris Elba had a little bit of overlap in terms of like who was supposed to actually be the leader of this group at times, but they figure out a way to make it work for the story. The only issue I had was that Joel Kinnaman's death didn't hit hard enough for me because the story didn't make me care about him enough. And that's not a knock on his performance. That's simply work that the script needed.
Yeah.
But this is me finding fault with a rainbow, literally. It's with me being mad at a dolphin, right? This is, I think it's so good, right? But it's like, oh man, if you can get me to this emotional state over a rat, get me there over Joel Kinnaman's character. And maybe it's you got to have a minute.
I think that was the purpose. Wasn't that the purpose though?
Was to what?
I don't think the purpose was intended for you to get close enough to actually feel that let down.
I see what you're saying. What's interesting because when I look at that scene, and obviously it's Peacemaker, he takes the piece of glass and he stabs him through the heart, with it. Mm-hmm. And I love his line in that moment where he says, Peacemaker, what a joke, and then he falls over. It's a great scene. I found myself struggling. It was like my brain's telling me, you're supposed to care about this. And my heart's like, wow, that's a shame. But when I thought John Cena was about to kill Ratcatcher 2, I was like, no, don't kill Ratcatcher 2. No. And it's even so it's funny. The exposition that they spent that I felt like it dragged is so critical because if they don't have that, then the scene when he's about to shoot her and Idris comes in and saves her, that doesn't work. And it bookends because she saves him in the end. So it's and it goes back to that scene where they say, I'll make sure that you get through this alive. And so the script works very well in that. So I'm looking at this and I'm going, you have the ability to pull on my heartstrings. This, I wish I cared more about this dude, was my thing. And he's a likable character, in this, but maybe again, I'm literally finding fault with a rainbow.
Did you feel more passion for the rat in this movie than you did for any of the humans?
I did.
Than any of the humans.
Because listen, when they had that rat waving to people.
Let's compare this to two things, right? So first of all, I do have to tell you one thing.
All right.
I have one deathly fear in this whole world, and of course you would pick this freaking movie for me to watch, okay?
Yes. You're welcome. I did this to you.
You did this to me.
Yeah. Oh man. Did you get all the way through the end of this?
Okay. I'm gonna tell you. I used to have this reoccurring dream as a child, and it's still vivid in my head to this day. And these are from childhood. Okay, right. I lived out in Iowa, right? I lived out in farm country, and when the fields would come down, we would get mice in the house. Okay, not a whole lot of them, but enough that every once in a while you'd see one scurry, and you'd have to clean the traps. That's what happens when you live out on a farm. Okay.
All right.
So I lived in a house that was, the old 70s homes where there was like a step up from the living room to the dining room. And then there was those wrought iron fences between the dining room and the living room. Right.
All right. Yep.
I had this dream reoccurringly because my dad used to take his shoe and throw it at a mouse if he saw it. So this dream, I'm upstairs on the step between the bedroom or between the living room and the kitchen. And there's mice forming all over me and starting to climb up me. And my dad comes in and he's throwing shoes at them and there's blood splattering all over me. So you can imagine how it felt watching this movie as all of the rats come and running over
Starro and yeah.
Yes. And I was freaking out. I'm like, if this reoccurring dream starts again, Omar and I are never speaking.
Oh, no. You can't quit me. You can't quit me. Yeah.
No, I couldn't quit you, but I can be mad at you.
Yeah, you can be mad at me.
But you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
No, like, I totally know it. Yeah.
Anyway. So the whole point I was trying to make about
but you fell for the rat. Yeah.
I did.
How about that?
I did. Okay, so you've got this rat. Now think about how the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 ended with the raccoon standing there crying. You felt more for an animal than you did for humans. So what does that tell you about the director? I think he cares more about animals than he actually does humans.
You're going deep now. You're deep cuts.
Well, I'm beginning to wonder this myself. Now watching all of the movies he directs, your heartstrings do get pulled more towards the animals than it does to the people.
It's an interesting line that Ratcatcher 1 says to her, which is, if rats, who are considered the lowliest form of anything, have value, then so do we. So it's an interesting, take, that when you get into the social commentary of what could make a man want to write that particular line, and it lands, the way that he set it up.
Yeah.
No, you make a great point. I hadn't thought of it like that. I cared more about the rat than I did Joel Kinnaman. I'm sorry, Joel Kinnaman.
Yep.
I know you're listening to this. I didn't mean it.
But we know you're listening.
Yeah.
We appreciate your work.
We do appreciate, your work. I think you're fantastic.
Write in and tell us what you think.
Yeah.
About this podcast.
He's going to be like, my death scene was awesome, you son of a, right? So, probably cuss me out. I ain't mad, I ain't mad at him. I deserve it. I thought Viola Davis was, again, I'm not going to, she's awesome in everything she does. And, Margot Robbie is Harley Quinn. I can't say enough good things about her just in the role. One of the things that I liked a lot that I've heard, depending on who you listen to, a couple of critics say they didn't like, and this is an interesting thing, because she's early in the film is captured, and she basically escapes, and it's a sequence that's fantastic, where she has guns and she's beating people up, and she gets the javelin and she's doing her thing. And what's real interesting to me is that she was better with the javelin than the dude whose superpower was to have the javelin. And so I was like, he was just there to give her the javelin. That is literally what dude's purpose was in the flick. So to me, it fit. It worked real well. It doesn't take anything away from any of the male characters that she could free herself. It empowers her. But you had some people on the other side saying, well, why they gotta emasculate these dudes, and have her free herself. And I feel like the film knew you were going to say that, and hence that whole scene of them trying to go in and rescue her. And she's like, well, I can go back in and put myself back in position. You come get me if you have to have that. And that's what I loved about it. I was like, wow, the movie's in on the joke. Like it gets that. And there are people that were still mad about it. But anyway, all that to say that Margot Robbie sort of takes on the Jared Leto Joker role, so to speak, from now, mind you, the bits and pieces I've seen of the original movie, because I just couldn't finish it. He wasn't so much, it was that bad. He wasn't so much like a part of the Suicide Squad as, Margot Robbie. He's kind of on the outs. Yeah. So I don't want to do a direct comparison between the two of them, but in the sense of they are a group kind of doing their thing, and then she joins up with them after the rescue.
Like a
Much
tag
of the
team?
film, she's by herself, and so you almost feel like this was sort of a because Birds of Prey did not do well, and that was her Harley Quinn flick, and I kind of feel like, man, what if James Gunn had gotten that script just based on
Oh, it
how
would have
he
been a whole other
utilized her,
ballgame.
in this. So this is
Other
the first
ballgame.
movie that she's been in as this character that I've liked this much. And
I
it's
want,
yeah, go ahead.
I want to go back to something you were saying earlier
Hmm.
about how we were talking about how much he evolved the character, how much he involved the characters of the mice, the rats.
Yeah.
And now we are talking about emasculating men and really bringing up women, right?
Yeah.
Almost as though the underdogs are trying to win here.
Yeah.
I
Mm.
wonder I
I see what
wonder
you're
if
saying.
that's a correlation
Yeah.
between what had happened with him and
Ooh.
himself
You're going
and
deep
saying,
in the
"Hey, we're
cuts.
the lowest of the." I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I'm not trying to go like
No, no,
overly
no.
low here, but
It's
I'm
a
just putting it all together based on our conversation here. Like, you know, he was the scum of the earth, according to what everybody was saying just a few
yeah.
years ago, and to
Yeah.
kind of rise above that and be looked at as like
Yeah.
the lowest of,
I could
and to
totally
have
see.
people
Yeah.
fall in love with that.
Yeah. That's to your point, it's it's really interesting because to your point, they're coming up the one thing that and I didn't dislike. I liked most of what they had in this film. The only thing that I wasn't crazy about in terms of what he wrote was the. I felt like there were one too many jokes about children being hurt. That's the only thing I had a problem with. To me, there's certain things that are never funny. And hey, he
Yeah.
killed 27 kids, and so to me, it's like, dude, don't write that. Don't do that. That's to me, that's never entertaining. But to your point, I don't know that it was malicious, and it's an R-rated movie, and it's dark and stuff. So I'm not condemning the dude over it, but that's really the only thing I had an issue with. And that's the only reason I can't go all the way in, though I love your theory, because when I think about what his tweets were about, there were pedophilia and rape, right? And so while rape can go either way, typically we generically think about it one way, right? And so here you have this situation where Harley Quinn is captured, she frees herself. You could almost say that, hey, this is touching that piece.
Yep.
Though I could say this, there's a connect between. So you know what? Maybe I may need to retcon myself here. Jokes aside about children being harmed, there is a connect with Storm Reed or Stormy Reed or whatever her name is. Bloodsport's daughter. I think her name is Stormy or Storm. And I loved her scene and her performance. And if you're listening to this, forgive me for butchering your name. I will get that right because names are important. But I felt like the scene between the two of them where he's upset that she would steal a watch she could watch TV on. And she's like, it can do other things. I thought it was hysterical. And then she sees him later on and she's like, that's my dad. There's, for all intents and purposes, she is his child. And, so maybe you almost wonder, to your point, was he touching on all the things that he was, condemned for? Was this sort of his, response through art to cancel culture? You could almost, it's not a stretch to make that argument.
There's a lot of that to that. Exactly. And I think that that's what a lot of artists that write and direct do. They tend to have that mentality that this is the way to showcase my response.
It's interesting you say that too, Tiff, because I'm thinking Think about what the whole hook was, or the twist was with Starro. The fact that it was the U.S. government that found him in the first place, and that, and so him saying, "Listen, your own government was in on it," and the whole reason that Kinnaman's character has to die is because Peacemaker's trying to preserve the peace. So, in a way, Gunn could be saying, "Listen, all of y'all are in on this. You're condemning me, but you're all in on it." In a way, it's not a stretch in my bed. That's a great. I hadn't thought of it quite like that, but you're making me dig a little deeper on this.
Well, and I think it's true that people that are hurting and people that have gone through their own issues can react to it in one of two ways. We don't know what happened to him growing up.
That's fair.
And sometimes when negative things in our lives happen to us as children, or even as adults, and we're going through something, we can joke about something. Hey, I don't know, divorce. How many divorce jokes I said when I was going through mine? Just to normalize it for myself. To make it so it's not so heavy on me, right?
Yeah.
But when negative things happen, I've had people that have had those types of negative things happen in their lives, from rape or pedophilia or whatever the case may be, that do tend to try to normalize it through just making a joke about it to feel better about it. So who's to say that he hasn't been through something and his jokes were normalizing it for himself, completely taken the wrong way. He realized what happened. He does apologize. He is disgusted by it inherently, but now he writes a movie that incorporates some of those things in there to say, this isn't like, I'm not trying to joke about this, but this is life. This is reality, and it's miserable, and it's wrong, and it's evil, and it's the worst of the worst. But even when you're pushed down to the lowest level of a rat, you can rise and be loved.
Look at you coming hard in your first co-hosting duties on the Omar the Barbarian podcast. You coming with the deep thoughts. I see you, Tiffany Jones. I see you coming hard.
Do I take it too hard and too deep? Is that the problem?
I was waiting to see which one of us would crack first. I was waiting to see. Yeah, listen, I respect it. I respect it. Yeah, I respect that. I was not ready. I don't have a good response. I don't.
You're blushing.
Yeah, I'm blushing. Yeah, listen, you got me. You absolutely got me on that. This is because what's sad is we've said worse to each other in that space just yesterday, which was hysterical. Yeah. Oh man.
Well,
Yeah. Listen, it's what makes it work, right? The teamwork makes the dream work.
That's right.
All right. So like I said, I liked pretty much everything about this movie. I do think you're going to have critics of the humor. Not all the jokes land well, but I found that to be mostly because a lot of them were in the trailers. There's a scene where the team kills freedom fighters by mistake in an attempt to rescue Joel Kinnaman's character, and that's played for laughs. But then in my mind, it's like, how else would you have that scene? You're just gonna get sad in that moment. I mean, it's an R-rated movie. We got a walking shark that eats people. If you're gonna be mad about that, you're not gonna. This is not the flick for you. So I feel like if you're into this kind of humor, this dark humor, and apparently a lot of people were, because it's the audience score was 83% fresh. If you're into this, you'll love it. If you're not, then you won't. But
then don't watch it.
Yeah, then it's like, don't watch it. It's but I enjoyed it. I thought it was great, and I'm looking forward to seeing the Cena Peacemaker spinoff that'll be coming up soon.
Oh,
You
I
know,
didn't know there was a Peacemaker spinoff.
there is there's an end credit or the end credit scene or the post credit scene or whatever it is. The Weasel comes back to life after everybody thought he drowned. And then at the end, it was like, oh my God, Peacemaker's still alive. And they're like, well,
Oh, I missed it.
yeah. Like I said, when you rewatch it, I think you're going to enjoy it even more because, like I said, you and I literally had the same experience. Exhausted, fell asleep, saw most of it, went back, saw the whole thing, and was like, wow, that was better than I remembered. Probably because I was awake. All right. So,
probably because you were.
Probably because I were. So, Tiffany, we've been talking for an hour. I know that it's getting late where you are, or it's about dinner time where you are. It is.
It's late where you are.
It's nap time where
it's
I
your
am.
bedtime.
But
you're an old man.
I'm an old man, but thankfully, because of the miracle of the urinal, what did I call that thing? What's the name of my fake product? Urinary home invasion.
Urinary home invasion.
Yeah. Because of that, I now have the urinal in every room of my house. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do they have portable urinary invasions?
Not yet, but soon.
Okay.
That wow. I see your vision. It's urinals everywhere.
It's the story about in bed. If you could just reach over and grab your porta urinary invasion.
Well, on this, it was kind of the idea was that because of the miracle of science, it would just make it into
it automatically absorbs it. So
you just somehow it goes in the air and it just evaporates because of science.
As long as it's within a number of however many feet around you, then it should just scientifically make it right in the bowl, right?
That's all I'm saying. It would just get, again, you never miss. You never ever miss.
Yeah, got it.
And to be honest, that's a better name for this fake product. Is never miss.
Never miss. I like that.
We should make this.
We should.
You know what? And you
could. Make one for women to stand up? Could we make one that women can stand up and go to the bathroom too?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Do you want to stand up?
For men,
is that a thing that you want to stand up while you go? Is that something that you think about?
You want to know when I think about it? There have been times where I've been on sets in the middle of the desert and there is no bathroom.
Right.
Guys are fine. They don't think about the one girl that they bring along with them. Of course, I'm the only girl out of this entire group of guys that go. They're all like, we're out there, everything's happening. I'm like, y'all can pee on that bush over there. What am I supposed to do?
That's fair.
Yeah. So would it be nice?
Yeah.
I know that they make these they make those things where, women can just go wherever.
Right.
Just put it on there and
there you go. But it's not the same. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
It's not the same because it doesn't flush.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you've got the excess,
Yeah.
Just saying.
No, you know what? We're going to work on that.
Okay.
Never miss.
All right.
Yeah. And then,
miss.
never miss too for women.
We never miss anyway.
That's fair. You know what? We have to come up with a better name. You're the marketer. You got to come up with something.
Okay, I like never miss.
You like
for
never
men.
miss, right?
Never miss for men, and never miss for men, and never sit for women. Ooh.
Yeah. See, this is why. Do y'all hear that? That's the genius. Listen, y'all. I've been playing with y'all, man. I'm bringing in heavy hitters to come in. Only the best for all 10 of my listeners, right? Oh man. Thank you for this. Yeah. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I was about to wrap us up. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, Mr. Barbarian, thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you.
And
for joining.
I need to know where your bat is for next time. Your barbarian bat.
You know what you know what's funny? I actually do, from my tabletop role playing days. I had a buddy of mine give me a foam axe. And so
there you go.
Yeah, I will have that available the next time we do this.
All right.
So thank you all for listening to the Omar the Barbarian podcast. Thank you, Tiffany, for joining me. If you are not subscribed, please subscribe. If you are subscribed, then subscribe again. I don't care if it's just subscribe. Do it twice. You know, we love reviews, but only positive ones. If you give me a bad review, I will find you. I will come to your house, and I won't hurt you, but I'll just live with you, and that's worse. Because I can't aim right in the toilet. I go to bed early and I get up in the middle of the night. You will hate me. It'll be your own fault because you'll be like, Dad, I should have given him a better review. Yes, you should have. Yeah. You hate this show, then keep that to yourself. Hug somebody you love, and we will see you all next time.